Hi guys, I think we're gonna get started here in just a minute. If you can't hear me, I guess you're not gonna be able to tell me that, obviously, but if you can hear me, can you just type in the chat that you're here? So if you're having problems of any sort, I don't need to see your video, so you can just mute that out. So today we're talking about your first internship. And the first internship is HRTM 172, as you know. It's 150 hours requirement for the full credit for the hours piece of it. The internship period is a little bit different than the typical summer session. We did it that way so that way you guys could have more time to complete the internship. So I don't think it's going to be a problem for most all of you. The main reason we did that is usually everybody wants to take some kind of summer vacation, and this typically allows you to do that. So again, for full points on the hours piece of it, you need to get 150 hours. You can still get partial credit for when you complete at least 100 hours. So I'm taping this for those people who aren't able to participate with us today. If you want to go back and watch it later, I'll have the link on Canvas, but you guys can always call me. I leave for France on Thursday. Actually, I'm going to be going to the Cannes Film Festival with students. There'll be 2 or 3 students from our program, and I'll have about 12 or 13 from all over the United States as well. I'm a faculty advisor for that event. So I'll be in France from May 9th to the 27th. That doesn't mean that I'm not working though. So I'll still have my laptop, and everything will go on as planned for the internship. So if you guys have any questions, you can always email me. My cell phone number, I think I put that in the email earlier today, is 402-560-1577. But you can always text me and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. So, all right, so let's talk about this internship. I'm going to go ahead and go to the assignment page, which is nice because I can just show you guys everything through that here through the Zoom call. So, of course, the syllabi, you guys have likely all had me already for 171, so you know that kind of how I write my syllabus. So let's scroll down here a little bit. I just want to draw your attention to a few things as far as the syllabus goes. This is a campus-based, really fieldwork course, meaning that for the most part, all summer, I'll be on campus. I'll be gone, like I said, in France, but I'm also taking a short vacation at the end of June and partially into July. I'm still working. I may be on vacation, but the class is still going on. You guys can still email me. You'll still get notes from me. There's really no vacation when you do internships, at least for me, and that's totally fine. It's just part of what I do. Okay, so let's look at the due dates that there are for the internship. The first thing that you guys have due, which the due date on here says May 20th, which is really the first day of the internship. Ideally, it's great if you guys have that done by the first day. You're going to probably want to do that earlier, those 2 assignments, because that's when your hours are going to start counting. So you'll see on May 20th, there's a work experience agreement due and a job description due. Now, if you don't have those done that day, that's okay. I really should change that due date to maybe a week later, but it's not a problem. I'm not going to mark you off if you're a days past that. That's really just a kind of a benchmark to get you going. So, but you can submit that as early as today if you want, after we talk and you fill out the paperwork, and then maybe you have your boss, your internship supervisor at your job sign off on it, then you'll upload it into Canvas. But we're going to go through each one of those assignments today. Then you have a job description, which is also due on May 20th. Then you'll have a resume, which is due on June 3rd. And your resume is the one that we did for 171. And oh, I see Sarb can't hear us. I'm going to tell Sarb to call in to that phone number. Listed in my email. Not my cell, but the number for the Zoom call. If you can't find it, maybe one of you guys would post it on there for me since I'm trying to do this. Okay. All right, so you'll have your resume, which again, like I said, is due June 3rd, and that is the resume from 171 that you're going to update to include this internship, okay? June 17th, you're going to have an employment update due, which is basically like a midterm paper. It's very simple. You're writing about your experience, your goals and objectives, and your accomplishments towards those objectives. It's a 2-page single-space paper. It's very simple, again, because you're writing about yourself. The papers that you write for this class are probably the easiest papers you're going to write your whole time at UNL, because you're writing about you, you're writing about your experience. Where it can be tough is if you haven't written down written down memorable things that maybe happened during your time. So I would say, keep a little notebook where you write down after you get off work every day, write down things that sit in your memory, memorable occasions, things that you learned, because as we all know, it's hard to look back 8 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago, even from, maybe a week ago. It's sometimes hard to do. So help yourself and write down things that happen. Your midterm eval, that is your performance evaluation that we send to your supervisor. You don't have to do anything for that. So there's 2 assignments on here that you don't even have to do a thing. We email that to your supervisor. It's a Qualtrics survey. That's just the type of software we use. And your supervisor will complete the evaluation on you. That then goes back to my office. Joan downloads it, emails it to both of us, and then she enters a grade for me on your evaluation. So hopefully your supervisors will talk about those with you, but if not, that's the reason that we send it to you. Most of the time you won't hear from me unless there's something that I see on there that I think we need to talk about. But again, those are 2 assignments. You don't have to do anything at all to have it happen. Then on August 2nd, you have to submit a final paper, and your final paper is written in APA format. And I know many of you may not have written a paper at UNL yet in APA style. You probably wrote papers in high school under MLA, so that probably is familiar to you. APA is just a different type of writing style. It's not difficult at all. There's a template for you. We've made it about as easy as it can be. Just look at the template and follow along to what you need to do. But again, it's not difficult. And then the last thing that you do for the internship, besides working the hours, is you submit documentation of your hours, okay? And that can come in a couple different ways. Your documentation can be pay stubs, which you can upload through one attachment. So, through that iScanner app we used in 171, so that way you're not submitting 4 or 6 different pay stubs or whatever. You'll have one PDF document that you're going to submit through Canvas. It's very simple to do. And again, it's that iScanner app. Or if you have an unpaid experience, you can use a spreadsheet, which I know I also have in there a tracking sheet that you can use for that. And then your boss will sign off. So we'll go over that here in a minute. Don't worry about that right at the moment. So those are really the assignments for the summer. Mostly it's just you working the hours and getting the experience. All you have to do is 150 hours. I hope you do a lot more than that just for your own sake, because it's to your benefit. So let's go through some of the assignments specifically. Anybody have any questions so far? I don't see any here, but if you do, feel free to unmute yourself, or otherwise just type it in here in the chat. All right, so let's go to the different assignments. The first thing you really are going to want to do is your job description, okay? And this sometimes is provided, oftentimes is provided by your supervisor. And what you're going to do with that, so let's say that you're working at Embassy Suites, you're a front desk person at Embassy Suites. You can probably go out just through Google and Google front desk supervisor or front desk employee at Embassy Suites and find one out there. You're going to take that job description and you're going to rewrite it like the one that's here, okay? And the reason I want you to do that is because someday you are going to be a supervisor and you're going to have to write one of these job descriptions, okay? And in this job description, you're going to, I want you to pay particular attention to a couple things. So like in this one here, you see the description of the job. The description of the job not only shows a description, basically the mission of the zoo here. So this job title is Guest Service Representative at the Houston Zoo. And the Houston Zoo aspires to be recognized by peer staff and general public as a leader among conservation efforts, blah, 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 blah. You can see what I'm talking about there. So the first paragraph has to do with the mission and the vision. The second paragraph has to do with, it's just like a little paragraph summary of the job. Sometimes you'll see those emailed out from me or Joan right now, that when we're sharing different opportunities with you guys, the emails that you get a lot of times will say, basically just this kind of stuff. It'll just have a little paragraph and it'll say, if you want to apply, here's the link, or it might say how much money you're going to get paid and the hours of the job. It typically, some of them have this stuff below that, but a lot of times this is just something that you might see in a newspaper or you might see on an online ad. You don't typically see all the other things at first until you click to learn more about the job. So that's the first couple paragraphs. So the first paragraph, you're going to write the mission of whatever the business it is and find it out. And if they don't have it on their website, ask somebody, because all businesses should have something like that. And if they don't have something like that, then you write something for them like that. Ask them what they want to be recognized as. And, you know, then you can write it for them. I'm sure they'd probably love it. Okay, so then you're going to have that summary of what the job is. And then you're going to have your responsibilities. Typically that's 8 to 12 duties of the job. And most often they're written with the highest percentage of duties at the top. So typically at the bottom are the things that are just, they're the minor things, you know, not always, but typically that's the way you're going to see it. So the larger percentage items would be more at the top. And then the second part here or this next part where it says staff will be required to work weekends, holidays, some evenings, that's pretty much every hospitality job. You know, it's pretty rare to find a job in hospitality that wouldn't be like that. I apologize, guys. I'm getting over a cold, so if I cough, I apologize for that, but it just is what it is. All right, then the second page has the job requirements, and we list first the experience. And so what experience is required for the position that you're doing? These are entry-level positions, likely, maybe, maybe not. So what's required of the job, okay? What knowledge is required of your position? Read this over just to understand what each section is. It's pretty self-explanatory. Then you have skills. What skills are required of the job? What physical effort? What's the work environment like? What physical skill and what public contact is involved? To understand the difference between physical effort and physical skill, just read them, you'll see. Physical skill is things related to hand-eye coordination. Physical effort might having to be able to lift 50 pounds, okay? So once you see it, it makes sense, but if somebody asked you the difference without looking at it, you might be a little bit confused on it, but not once you've done it or looked at the example. Okay, so public contact, every job in hospitality, again, is going to have public contact. So that should be on yours as well. That'll just be on everybody's. There's one thing in here that talks about the weather. And this position requires employees to work outdoors 50% of the time. It might say something about standing on your feet. Yeah, I guess it does here. So the work environment is generally comfortable, but requires sitting or standing for long periods. And your environment might be different than this, but you can get the idea there. So if any of you have any questions about the job description, please feel free to, I prefer you email me first, just because since I'm going to be out of the country, there's going to be a little bit of a time difference, and I can't promise that I can get back to you right at the minute. So that might be the best way to go about it. All right, let's go back here. Okay, any questions about the job description? If you do, just type it in the chat. So job description, position description, you can use those terms interchangeably. They're essentially the same thing, or they are the same thing. The next assignment, again, these are both due May 20th, ideally. Okay, if you don't get them in until a week later, that's fine. Okay, so the work experience agreement is the next thing we're going to talk about. And the work experience agreement, sometimes you'll hear me, that has to do with your learning objectives. So when you guys go to write your midterm paper, sometimes I'll get a note or somebody will text me and they'll say, Shannon, I don't understand what I'm writing towards my learning objectives. Well, that's your paper that you wrote initially. Okay, so those are the things. You don't want to write that and then set it aside and forget about it, because this is what you're supposed to be accomplishing on your internship. So let's look at this together. So for this experience, you, as I mentioned to you in your job description, you're going to probably have about 8 to 12 job duties likely. On this job description, or excuse me, on the work experience agreement, you're going to fill this form out completely. Now you fill this out. Your boss typically gives you job duties. You fill out the job description. You fill out this work experience agreement, and then they sign off on your work experience agreement. So as we scroll through this, I'm just going to point out a few things to you. You've got your student information, your name, your phone number, your address, your email, your year in school. Then this is information about your position, your employer that you're working with. What is the employer? Is that University of Nebraska-Lincoln? Are you working as an admissions office? Is this you're working at Huddle? Is whatever it is. Okay, your supervisor, their name, their title, the address of the business, their phone number, their email, the title of your position, the date of hire, and your rate of pay. Okay, and then these are the responsibilities and expectations for you this summer with this internship. This is our meeting today. Okay. You're supposed to meet with me prior to the work experience to gain approval. Well, you already did that in a sense, because you emailed Joan or you emailed me and you told me about what it was, the job that you had, and we gave you a code to register. I know a few of you maybe haven't registered yet. You plan on doing that. Then number 2, complete all assigned work to the satisfaction of me. That's me. Respect confidential information pertaining to the place of employment. So just know that anything you write in your papers, I'm not going to tell anybody about unless I have to. But is the year in school the grade we're going to be, or just finished? It can be the grade you're going to be. That's fine. It can be the grade you're going to be. That's perfectly fine. Submit all the paperwork to me via, it says Blackboard, but I need to change that to Canvas, by assigned due dates. The only dates I'm really flexible on are initially the work experience agreement and the job description, and the others by special permission. Normally, everything has to be submitted by the due date unless you and I have agreed and there's some special reason for it. But you really shouldn't have any trouble with the other dates because there's a good length of a window. So you need to also notify me if there's any change from the original plan. So if anything starts to go bad in your internship, okay, anything unethical, immoral, illegal, you feel that you're treated very poorly, I don't want you to stay in an experience that is bad. That doesn't happen very often. It's very rare, in fact, but it does happen. There's bad bosses out there. There's bad experiences. Please don't feel like you have to stay in an internship that you're terribly unhappy. Now, if you just don't like that you have to make beds and mop floors, that is different to me. So I don't want, sometimes those are great life experiences, You learn a lot, even if you're in a, an event job and you think, oh boy, I never want to do this again. Let's say that you're working at a bridal shop and you think, this is not for me. I still want you to finish that experience because you're learning a lot from it. And it's only 150 hours, so it's not the end of the world. But if there's something wrong, that you're being treated poorly, give me a call and let's talk about it. Send me an email, something like that. Okay. All right. So that's the first couple pages. There's more. We need to get to it. Okay. So the next part has to do with the learning objectives. Here you see 3 examples. Okay. And so basically this is where you're going to take your job description and you're going to write goals and objectives for this internship. You're going to take those 8 to 12 different things and loop them and group them into categories. Okay, so like in here, anybody working at a hotel this summer? If you are, tell me in the chat. If you're working at a hotel this summer, okay, Kate, you're working at a hotel. Kayla's working at a hotel. Okay, you guys are gonna like me. Sarb's working at a hotel, especially if these objectives, Anna, okay, Anna, this might be similar for you too, but the goals and objectives that I wrote here are for that of a hotel. So, for example, objective 1, I will make and confirm registrations, greet, register, and assign rooms to guests, verify customers' credit, and establish how the customer will pay for the accommodations, issue room keys, and escort instructions to hotel staff. Success is defined by my supervisor, will be measured by service times, upgrades, guest satisfaction scores, and supervisory feedback. And then objective 2, I will perform bookkeeping, record keeping activities, such as posting charges for rooms, food, liquor, telephone calls. I will compute bills, collect payments, and make change for guests. Success will be shown through accuracy of my work, feedback from accounting staff, guests, and my supervisor. Objective 3, I will record guest comments or complaints, referring customers to managers as necessary, clean and maintain the lobby and common areas such as restocking supplies and watering plants, arranging tours, taxis, or restaurant reservations. Success is defined by my supervisor, blah, blah, blah. You guys can see the point. So for those of you working at a hotel, good job for you. I mean, lucky for you, I guess, if you're at a front desk, because pretty much it's written for you there. For those of you that are not working at a hotel, you can see, though, what I did was I took basically the duties of a front desk person and I put them into 3 categories. One of them is related to registrations and assigning rooms. The second was related to bookkeeping duties, record keeping activities. And then the last one was just kind of all the other stuff. Okay, so you would do the same type of thing. But when you do that, you need to write them, complete the learning objectives by determining what you're going to do, how you're going to do it, and how you will measure what you've accomplished. This is the most important part. You've got to, well, it's all important, but you've got to go, what are you doing, how you will do it, and how you will measure what you've accomplished. So you need to ask your supervisor, if I did a great job on duty 1, what would that look like to you? Okay. Now this one, here it says service times, upgrades, guest satisfaction scores, and feedback. Okay, I would expect to see something more than just supervisory feedback. At times I've seen students just write that. That's not good enough. I need to know more. So almost in every objective, they're going to have some kind of measurement. If they don't, they'll be thankful to you for asking that, because one thing I've seen over my years in management is oftentimes people don't know what's expected of them. So this gives you an excuse to find that out up front. It's actually pretty wonderful. So anybody have any questions about that? So you have 3 objectives, but you will have probably 8 to 12 job duties. You just have to make those fit within those 3 objectives, okay? It could take you, a half a page to write that. It could take you just this little space in here. But the more detailed you are, the better it is for you, okay? You may take 1 page. You may, this is a Word document, so you can obviously adjust it for whatever you need. All right, so then you're going to sign this. You're going to print this off after you filled it out, and you're going to sign it. You're going to date it. Then your boss is going to sign it, they're going to date it. I'm just going to approve it through Canvas. You don't have to get my physical signature. So You're going to take this document once it's signed. You're going to use that iScanner app. You're going to get that PDF. It has to be 3 objectives. You're going to take that PDF document. You're going to attach it in Canvas. Okay. So just make sure, again, the reason I want that is 1 PDF. I don't want to see 3 pages in there or 5 pages. It's really a pain to open. And then you guys just learn how to use another app. And some of your phones, I think, have a scanner app on it. I was told the other day, I haven't even looked at my iPhone. I'm sure it probably has something like that. Okay, any other questions about the work experience agreement or the job description? Okay, so let's go on to the next one. The next thing is your resume. And again, we really don't need to go through this much, I don't think, other than saying it's your resume that you have from 171, and you're going to update it to include this experience. I'm not making you go to career services, but I would encourage you to do that if you're in town. Why not? You know, you guys pay so much money to go to school. Use them, you know, get an appointment with a career advisor. Don't do it the day before because they're busy, but you can work with them if you'd like to. And if you feel you have a great product, but what I've seen over the years is people start with 171 and they usually have a pretty rough resume. By the time you graduate, you are going to really be proud of what you have. So, you know, take the initiative and really keep developing it, because you'll be really thankful that you did. So then get that resume submitted by the due date, which is, let's see here. It's due June 3rd. You could submit it tomorrow if you wanted. If you're already working at your job, I wouldn't care, but no reason to really do that yet unless you really want to. But again, just make sure that you've updated it and that you're happy with the quality. If you feel it's got some room to improve, then, you know, take the time to do it. What if the place you're interning is somewhere you've worked before? That's okay. So that's all right. You're just continuing it. That's fine. Just still check your resume, make sure if there's anything that's changed since you last updated it. Again, the midterm eval, that's something that Joan and I take care of. The final eval, Joan and I take care of. Let's talk about the employment update. Excuse me. The employment update is a 2-page, single-spaced paper, okay? 12-point font, 1-inch margins. Please just follow the directions. You are going to be writing about these 4 things. And please don't make me guess. So include these sections. The first section is a description of work. Where do you fall in the chain of command? Is the company a for-profit or not-for-profit company? What are, you know, who or what are you supervising? If you are, and if you're not, just what are you doing? Where is the business located? How many people work there? What segment of the hospitality business is this in? What's your job title? Who to report to? What hours are you working? You know, just all those kinds of things. Tell me about your job. Pretend I know nothing about it. Okay, I may know everything about it, but pretend that I'm a stranger and I know nothing about it. Okay. The biggest challenge. You're going to write about what's your biggest challenge there. Your biggest challenge might be your coworker. Okay, it might be your boss. It might be that you had no idea how hard this job was going to be. But then I want you to write about how are you compensating, coping, or working through the challenges, because that's what it's all about. It's about how we deal with things that come across us in life. So what did you anticipate to be your biggest challenge? I want to know, what did you think was going to be the biggest challenge versus what is? What is the most important or surprising thing you've learned? Maybe there's 5 things that you've learned that were surprising. Why is it surprising? Were you prepared for it? If not, how could you better prepare? And then you're going to list each learning objective. Remember those 3 objectives you wrote? You're going to list each one of those, and you're going to tell me your progress towards it. Now, this is 2-page single space, so it's really, you know, a 4-page double spaced, if you're, you know, just to think about that in your mind. It's not a terribly long paper. You may end up writing more than you think, and that's okay. I can't imagine you could do what I'm asking and write it less than the 2-page single space. Any questions about that? And that paper doesn't have to be in APA format. That's just, a 2-page single space paper, 12-inch font or 12-point font, 1-inch margins. All right, and then the last thing is your final paper. In your final, well, there's 2 things that we've got to talk about. Your final paper. This is the APA paper. This sometimes freaks people out for about 5 minutes. There's no reason to freak out about it. I've given you a template. It's very simple. It's just, once you're not used to it, it just takes getting used to it. So here is what you're going to be writing to, okay? Again, this is double space paper, 1-inch margins, 12-point readable font. Typically, it's Times New Roman or font is what's used, or Arial. APA 6th edition formatting. I've got a template here that I'm going to show you here in just a minute. I would expect to see an 8 to 10 page paper, which includes the cover sheet. That sounds like a lot. It's really, honestly not. You'll be surprised again how easy that is to write. So you're going to talk to me about the company, agency, or an organization where you're completing your internship. I'm not going to read each one of these to you because I know you all can read. Then you're going to write about your objectives. You're going to list each one of those, tell me how they were met or not. Your growth and employability, you're going to cover all these different categories here. Then you're going to write a summary reflecting on the experience, application of academic instruction to real world situations. So this is where, what classes have you had that you've been able to apply? And not every class you take is going to apply to every internship, but did you learn about things in guest service management that you're applying on your job? Did you learn about things in food and beverage management that you're using on your job? Did you learn about something in career exploration or in your leadership class? That's where, I want you to talk about that. All right, then how has this internship helped you think about your next internship or your future career goals? So, this is what we want. How has it changed your plans? Then your appendix include a list of skills and competencies you've developed, nurtured, or refined. So what things did you learn? Did you learn about a certain software that the hotel uses? Or did you learn how to multitask better? Give me some examples, those kinds of things. And then include a photo or materials that you developed. And I want a photo of you there, not a photo that you've taken off the internet. So make sure this is a photo. Have somebody take a photo of you and your boss. Or, I understand if you can't take pictures of patrons or of members of the club, but have somebody take a picture of you out in front of the Country Club of Lincoln or something. Then grammar, spelling, writing, APA formatting is 20 points of this. Here I've got a sample paper, and then I've got a template for you, okay? So this makes it so simple for you. A couple things I want to bring your attention to, because this always confuses students. On the first page of an APA paper, this is always there. It says running head. That goes on there. That you don't take that off, okay? It'll say running head. It's got a capital R, running, and then lowercase h, colon, short, and then this is a shortened version of your title of your paper. So let's say SARB, you're writing your paper and you say my summer internship is your title. The running head would say running head summer internship. Do you see what I'm saying here, guys? So the running head is just like the header title. And then that is, then the shortened version, the title is in all capital letters. Then you have a page number. Then you have your full title of your paper here, your last name, first name, school, it's University of Nebraska. This thing's getting in my way. Okay. Then you have an author's note, and this sometimes confuses students too. There's nothing confusing about it. This just says, it tells you about it. This describes the author, which is you, where you work, what you've done, where they've done this is really essentially your research and where they are currently. So this is, pretend it was me, Shannon Rowan, Department of Nutrition, Health Sciences, Hospitality, Restaurant, Tourism Management, University of Nebraska, Lincoln. And then you probably won't even need this part on here. Correspondence concerning this paper should be addressed to Shannon Rowan, Department of Nutritional Sciences, Hospitality, Restaurant, Tourism Management, University of Nebraska, Lincoln, Nebraska, and then my address, my phone number, and my email address. Don't let that worry you. Okay, then the next page is an abstract. And here I tell you on these different sections, kind of tell you what this is. So an abstract is basically a summary of your paper. So the paragraph should not be indented, should range between 150 and 250 words. The next page or the body of the paper begins on the next page. You're going to have keywords. Typically, the keywords are related to hospitality, restaurant, tourism management, internship, those kinds of things. This tells you exactly how to write the paper. I'm not going to go through all this stuff for you, but just pay attention to the directions here, okay? And then you see how I have the headers here as well. To me, half of the part in doing this is that you learn how to write at a higher level of writing. We're a Big Ten institution, R1 research institution, and part of writing in college is learning how to do these things. And you're going to have to write APA papers in college. The sooner you start, the better, easier it is. But I've given you some really good tools here to help you do that. All right, I'm going to move that over again. Okay, any questions about this? All right, so let's talk about the hour submission. The last thing that you have to do is submit your hours, okay? The final paper is due on August 2nd. Your hours are due August 8th. So what you do to submit your hours, as much as what I had said to you earlier on, you're going to have your pay stubs, if you have pay stubs. If it's an electronic deposit, you should still be able to download those pay stubs. And then you're going to, as I mentioned, submit them as one PDF, okay? Another thing you can do is you can open up the student timesheet and you can fill this out. Like say that by day, let's say you have, 8 weeks of work or 10 weeks of work, you can fill it out by day and date and then have your supervisor sign off. Okay, you'd sign off, your supervisor sign off in their email. If you submit this and have to get your supervisor's signature, we verify all those with the supervisor, just so you know. Yes, Sarb, I'll go back over the abstract in here in just a minute. But we verify all of those things that aren't submitted through pay stubs. The reason we have to do that is in the past we've had students forge signatures and falsify time, which I know it sounds nuts, but don't do it. I probably had 3 students do it in my 7-8 years doing it here, doing internships, and forgery is a felony, which is obviously bad in its own right, but falsifying documents is punishable by student code of conduct, and it gets you an F in the class, also gets you turned over to the dean of students. So I always tell students, please, please, please don't do this. And really what we put in place is, like I said, we check all of those now. So before we just randomly check them, but now our process is we check all of them. So it usually have no issues. So, all right, let's go back over that abstract. This is a sample paper that I downloaded from Purdue Owl. And that's a writing center that is very famous for having some great research tools, resources for students. But what I love about it is like if you're looking for a definition of something, like here it talks about the abstract. The abstract is a brief summary of the paper, allowing readers to quickly review the main points and the purpose of the paper. So when you're doing your paper, look at both the template that I had my TA write for you guys, and look at this before you write your paper, because it helps you understand what you're doing. This talks about the front page of the paper. This tells you about the running head and the abbreviated paper title. This tells you about how the paper should be titled. This talks about the author's note, all those kinds of things. Let me go back and see if there's, did that help, Sarb? As far as submitting your pay stubs at 150 hours, I would say if you finish early, I would rather you wait till August 8th. And the reason is because I hope you have 300 hours. You know, I really want you to have a midterm paper and a final paper. The more hours that pass between you writing that midterm and that final paper, the better it is for you. So I would prefer you probably wait. If for some reason you're ending your internship early, that would be okay, but I'd prefer you probably don't. You can check in with me if you want to. Feel free to send me an email if you have a special circumstance. So, all right, guys, that's pretty much the gist of it. Anybody have any questions? So I'm going to post the fall internship classes too. I'm going to get those up early. So some of you that might be completing an internship in the fall, the same type of thing will take place. We don't have a meeting like this for those second and third internships, but a lot of times I'll open up the classes early for those students who want to start early. Like maybe you get this one done August 1st and you want to start that second one, you know, a little bit early, then you would just submit the paperwork to have the hours start counting. So again, first thing that you're doing for this internship is that job description, which if you don't have a job description or you can't Google one and find one out there. Now, like for some of you guys that are maybe event planners, they may not have one to give you. So I'll just show you what I do. Sometimes I'll just go out to, I'm just going to Google job description. Event coordinator, there you go. And most of the time you can find, oh, I see, here's one. I like this. At a hotel. Let's see if we can find something. Half the time you can just find something on the internet. It's pretty awesome. See right here. See, I could find that job duties, very simple. You can find that for pretty much any job, but I would say check with your supervisor. A lot of those jobs you guys were hired from, it might have come from an email that Joan or I sent out. You can go back and look in your email, but you can just ask your boss if there happens to be a job description for the position. Just tell them you need to write up an assignment. If they say, no, we don't have any formal job description, well, you know what the title is. You kind of know what you're doing. Go out and see if you can write one for yourself and then have your boss take a look at it, because you for sure want to make sure you get that job description right, or correct, I should say. You have a correct job description before you write your work experience agreement. So, okay, any other questions? All right, guys. Well, I think that's about it. Have a great summer. I look forward to reading your papers, and I'm around. So like I said, I'm going to be, even though I'm going to be out of the country, I'm still available. And please let me know if you have any questions. You can either text me or, you know, email me. Probably email is the best way, but you can always text me too. That's okay. So thanks, guys. That's probably it for today. Take care now.